calling all B2B salespeople, sales leaders, and business owners. This is The Path Less Taken, the show that helps you embrace uncertainty, expand potential, and drive growth. Get ready to boldly invite change in as you carve out your own unique path. Now here's your host, Bernadette McClelland.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Path Less Taken show. And I want to dive down a little rabbit hole here around sales detachment and the art of letting go. Now, that seems kind of a random topic to discuss, considering that the world that we are in is very much outcome-based. So how can we actually lose the attachment to our outcomes and let go of some of those outcomes? And I guess what it really boils down to, what it's really all about is, once again, it's around expectations that we have around our outcomes. So if we think for a moment, in the sales profession, what are some of those areas that we could let go of the attachment to? And I know one straight off the bat is our pipeline. You know, the amount of salespeople that have opportunities in that pipeline that are going nowhere, that are bloating that pipeline, that are actually blocking other opportunities coming through, that are actually impacting the forecastability of business for that business, is one of the top areas where all of us need to take a really good look at and say, okay, what can I let go? You know, what can I let go in that pipeline? Do you have the bravery to be able to get very, very honest with yourself, hand on heart, and say, I'm really not sure. I'm not sure if they're going to come to fruition or not. Have you got what it takes to really qualify and quantify that opportunity by making those calls? So, you know, we think about outcomes that we have across all our life and the expectations we have that arise from those desired outcomes. Now, I want to be very, very clear here. When I say lose the attachment to the outcome, that is not the same thing as saying I desire an outcome. So they're very, very different. Not having an attachment does not equal eliminating the desire for that outcome. You know, as a mum, my kids are now adults, and like most parents, you know, when we are in this parental mode, we are guiding our children through life. And there will come a point in time where the expectations we have, the outcomes that we desire, that our children do because we want them to do it, disappears. So that's a classic case of letting go of the expectations, letting go of the outcomes that we have as parents for our children. Of course, our kids get to the point where we now have an adult-to-adult relationship, which is totally different. As a salesperson, you're making prospecting calls, and your prospect or the voicemail you left or the email that you sent or the LinkedIn connection is not happening in your time frame. And what does that do to you emotionally? It creates all of this drama in your head. You start making stories up about why this is not happening. We've all done it. We all do it. We'll probably all continue to do it. But I really want us to catch the fact that outcomes that we have may not be realistic. So let's just dive a little more into this and think about people. What are some of the outcomes and expectations we have of people in our team, our leadership, people in our communities? You know, what are the outcomes that we have so much attached to our expectations of those people? Can we not just let them be who they are and know that they are on their own path as well? Because nobody is really here to purposely ruin life for us. Projects. What are some of the projects that we're working on where we have expectations around timeframes, where we have expectations around costings, all of these things, we are being driven, the results of these are being driven by our expectations. In a lot of cases, driven by our expectations from the past. So, do we have to let go of the past? Are there times where we're feeling guilt or where we're feeling shame or we're feeling embarrassment or we're feeling like, we've come from being a failure. And so now this is the lens through which we're looking at our outcomes moving forward. So what are those outcomes and what are those expectations? So I want to share with you a concept that will help us or help you. I know it's something that I've worked on a lot with myself. And that is, we have these expectations, we have these outcomes. And then the question that we need to ask is, okay, if that's my outcome, what must have to happen for me to achieve that outcome? So that's the question. For me, that's the magical question. What must have to happen? Because when I ask myself that question, and I'll get you to ask yourself that question too, we come up with our rules. And every single one of us will have our own unique rules based on our life today, based on our conditioning, based on our past experiences. So let's go back to the example that I shared about prospecting. And let's just say that it was a voicemail, a LinkedIn connection, an email. What must have to happen for you to be satisfied with that outcome? Let me just get a little bit more specific. And I'm using an example of one of my clients. A couple of years ago, I said to her, what must have to happen for you not to get so stressed? What must have to happen for you to shift your mindset when it comes to prospecting and reaching out? She said, well, if someone doesn't call back within the day, I feel like they're not taking me seriously. I feel like they are not interested. Now, have you ever thought that? I have. So her rules were so rigid. So when we can let go of the attachment to the outcome and just let it be, in this instance, have a cadence, have a follow-up, but emotionally don't get so connected and attached to the outcome. Of course, you still want to get that appointment. You still want to have that interaction. You still want to continue outreach. But it all happens inside us. It all happens with our thinking and the stories that we tell ourselves. Now, someone else, let's just hypothetically say someone else in your team, their attachment is so loose that they're not even following up. So, maybe they need to bring in and tighten up those rules just a little. So the reason for today's episode is that I see so often, and stress levels are so high, and people are so desperate to get their foot in that door and to turn those doors into dollars, that there's an energy that comes off that just spells desperation, spells stress. So I want to leave you with that thought. I want you to write down that question, what must have to happen? And just see if you can play with that a little bit. Loosen it, tighten it, whatever it may be. Do that, and you will start to detach emotionally from those outcomes, and you will start to let go a little more. And when you can do that, well, energy will flow. The right kind of energy will flow. You'll start to feel lighter. You'll start to find that things happen just that little bit easier, and it opens up space for you to do more productive and fulfilling activities. So on that note, have an amazing day, and I will speak to you soon. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to The Path Less Taken. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. If you found value in today's content, please share with others and leave a rating and a review. For more information or to connect with your host, visit www.salesleadersglobal.com. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.